Jai Swaminarayan, Om Namo Narayanaya, Namaste. Welcome. Another Saturday morning here in Portland, Maine. Thank you for joining me as we look at the world, ourselves, and Sanatana Dharma. Will you please join me in chanting Om Shri Swaminarayan Namah 7 times. Om Shri Swaminarayanaya Namah. 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 I would like to open the show reading a letter from Swami Vivekananda, written in 1894 to a Mrs. G.W. Hale, one of his intimate associates. So this is a letter from the book, The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 9. So it's a 9-volume set you can find of everything written about him from the time, everything he wrote, from notes to all the books and everything. His letters are really, really interesting. I find them very humbling and down to earth. And when I read the letter I'm about to read to you for the first time, I don't know, 12 something years ago, I was in such a state of mind that I thought spiritual teachers just were up there and didn't have problems, you know? And his letters really kind of revealed a lot to me. So I want to read one today that I just thought was very interesting and that works with what we're talking about. The public life is such a botheration. I am nearly daft. Where to fly? In India, I have become horribly public. Crowds will follow me and take my life out. I got an Indian letter from Landsberg. Every ounce of fame can only be bought at the cost of a pound of peace and holiness. I never thought about that before. I have become entirely disgusted with this blazoning. I am disgusted with myself. Lord will show me the way to peace and purity. Why, mother, I confess to you, no man can live in an atmosphere of public life, even in religion, without the devil of competition now and then thrusting his hand into the serenity of his heart. Lost my place. Those who are trained to preach a doctrine never feel it, for they never knew religion. But those that are after God and not after the world feel at once that every bit of name and fame is at the cost of their purity. It is so much gone from that ideal of perfect selfishness, perfect disregard of gain or name or fame. Lord, help me. Pray for me, Mother. I am very much disgusted with myself. Oh, why the world be so that one cannot do anything without putting himself to the front? Why cannot one act hidden and unseen and unnoticed? The world has not gone one step beyond idolatry yet. They cannot act from ideas, they cannot be led by ideas, but they want the person, the man. And any man that wants to do something must pay the penalty. No hope. This is the nonsense of the world. Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. When I first read this letter and others, I remember reading a lot of gurus who could do no wrong. They were never wrong. And they also would proclaim that being God, they knew, everything. Well, here is a man who I consider to be a holy man. Whether I have theological disagreements with him or not, I consider Swami Vivekananda to be one of our great holy men. And yet he says, I never thought of that, and I am disgusted with myself. That radicalized my view of holy men. It kind of brought them down to earth. Because here's a man who says, maybe I did the wrong thing, or maybe I'm doing the wrong thing, or I hate the fact that sometimes bad thoughts come to me because of what I'm doing, or I didn't perceive this. There's all sorts of stuff written in between the lines here. And I thought it was amazing. So today I want to ask a philosophical question. And I love asking questions. I think this is one of the greatest ways of growing spiritually, helping ourselves and helping others. When we stop asking questions, I really believe that's when we stop growing. We just stop. It's like if one day we stop reading books, we just don't read books anymore. But I think we get comfortable, and I think we often come up against maybe a wall and it's too hard, and so we back away. Or we find ourselves in a spot where it's like, "Oh, this is so agonizing. Yeah, no, I'm gonna accept things as they are." So, that's sort of the purpose of today's episode, to remind you to ask questions, to remind you to always be double checking your math, for lack of a better term, to not get yourself into a mode of comfort, because you won't grow. And it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a monk of 30 years, you can be a spiritual seeker. Ask questions. That's what I want you to do. Because that's what I want you to do. That's why I created this whole channel, was to help us grow, help myself, help you, help all of us grow. And I think asking questions is one of the biggest way of doing it. Also, with asking questions, being self-aware. That's the next step, because when you ask questions, you are then asking of yourself and you're becoming self-aware. It is very important that we constantly remain self-aware. People talk about being on guard to bad influences, constantly about being on guard. In the last couple episodes I did for Spiritual Speak, sorry, in the last couple episodes I did, let me get my tongue in the right place, on Spiritual Seekers classes 1 and 2, I talked about being on guard against bad influences and how they can just seep in and destroy you. So, today I wanted to talk about one philosophical question we can ask ourselves, or ask others, or ask good influences or bad influences. Before I say this, though, I want to know, am I alone in my situation? I have a tendency to see something and think of something and then find myself in a philosophical or ethical debate in my head. And I'll run this debate over and over and I'll try to examine things. Sometimes I have an answer, sometimes I don't. In this case, I decided to do a show about it. Does anybody else do that? I've been told that I think too much, that I overthink. So maybe no, this is just me, or it's a tongue issues here, or it's a minority. But I'm always running into philosophical conundrums where I'm just like, oh, and sometimes they're just whatever, pondering while I'm walking down the sidewalk. And other times they're kind of heavy, and they end up having repercussions of my thoughts or feelings or experiences. Anyways, I had one and decided to make this show. Before I keep going, since my tongue is getting in the wrong place, let me get a cup of coffee here. So I want to know, or I want to ask, can we in religion ever be wrong? Can we in our spiritual life ever make mistakes? That's a legitimate question. So, before I try to answer it, let me define what I mean by making mistakes, because there's different types of mistakes and there's different types of being wrong. So, there is being factually wrong. So, if I said to you that let's see, the Mahabharata is a section of the Bhagavad Gita, and that you don't need to read that section to read the Bhagavad Gita, I would be factually wrong. That's the opposite. The Bhagavad Gita is a section of the Mahabharata, and you don't need to read the Mahabharata to know about the Bhagavad Gita. You should read it, but who does? That is a fact that I have wrong. This is my cup of coffee that says Cat Dad on it. If I told you that this was a plastic cup of tea, I would be factually wrong. No harm is done in this. We have facts that change all the time. No one is ever going to be perfect. So that's one type of being wrong. There is another type of being wrong, though, where we say something sort of out of ignorance and we can't necessarily quantify it. So, yes, we're probably wrong, but some people might argue we're not. Let me give you another example. So this is actually based on a video I was watching just the other day, matter of fact. So a Christian writer was saying in a book in this video that Jesus is an avatar of Brahma. And I'm just going to keep this example going a little bit farther to make it a little more crazy. And not just is Jesus an avatar of Brahma, but the New Testament is the 13th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus the book of Revelation is really the book of Kalki, and Jesus is Kalki. Okay. That's what somebody says. Now, I cannot qualitatively show that, well, no, actually, Jesus in the book of Revelation is not Kalki because I'm technically not at end times yet. I can't see, look, there's Jesus in the sky and a bunch of horsemen, I think. I'm not there, so I can't actually show it. But I can show things in history that says, no, actually, the book of Revelation is a look at current events. It's not meant to be taken literally. I could also show that there's things in the New Testament which contradict it being just the 13th book of the Srimad Bhagavatam. I can show how it's actually the continuation of the Old Testament. I can also show how, yes, Jesus, and this is what the video is doing, you may say Jesus is an avatar, but when you rationally run that idea out and look at what the Bible says and what looks at what the Srimad Bhagavatam says, it doesn't match. You have to twist and turn facts someplace or the other to make it work. And I can argue that point, and I can say the writer is wrong. Here's the thing. There will be people who will go, no, 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 you have it wrong, because this is a new revelation. It's taken us 2,000 years to get here, but literally Jesus is an avatar, and we should all be worshiping the Srimad Bhagavatam and the New Testament. People will say that. They do. Actually, the idea that Jesus is an avatar is much more common than not. And I know people will say, no, no, you're wrong, because we have people who say, well, actually, it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Book of Mormon. That's the way it should be. And anyone who doesn't believe this is denying the truth. See, folks say that. Or they also say, well, no, actually, it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, and Science and Health and Key to the Scriptures, which is the Christian Science text. That's the way it's supposed to be. And if you deny that third book, you see, so there's always a way of arguing that what you have is accurate. So that is a form of being wrong that is theologically wrong. A lot of people say that no, Christian Science is actually not Christian because Science and Health and Key to the Scriptures denies everything that's in the New Testament. or it changes things. It has a completely different view and doesn't share the same ideas. Thus, it's not a continuation. Same with the Book of Mormon, etc., etc. They don't believe in the Trinity, so it thus is not a book that continues a book discussing the Trinity. Anyways, that is, I'm not looking and getting into Christian theology. It was just an example that I saw. That is a error where I am mistaken. Now, there's one more type of mistake, and that is one that causes harm. And you could say promoting the Book of Mormon or whatever, or promoting the Bible as Canto 13 is causing harm. But let me give a really firm example. And this is a non-religious one. I am an architect, and my job is to build a bridge. The bridge needs to go 300 yards. And I've sketched it out and whatever, and I've handed my plans over to the construction company, and I'm now on another job. I've gone to another state, and I'm working on this building. And I get a call from the construction company, and they go, "Well, we started construction, and we realized that your plans only call for 200 feet of bridge. We have 100 feet left. What are we going to do?" And I, as the architect, go, "Oh, well, yeah, I made a mistake. No big deal. Just add 100 feet to everything." And the construction guy goes, Are you sure? Isn't that going to upset the balance of the bridge?" No, 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 don't worry about it. I've been doing this all my life. Just add 100 feet. Just extend everything out. Okay, fine. So the construction company extends everything out 100 feet. About 3 months later, the bridge literally detaches and a car almost goes over into the water. Someone almost was killed because of my mistake. That is another type of mistake where we literally are putting something or someone in a bad situation due to our deliberate or non-willful ignorance. A religious example. I am a woman who belongs in a religious group following a religious guru who has been in and out of jail for fraud and things, but whatever. He's got some bad stuff, but he's God, so it's okay. And I know for a fact that every single woman that is brought into this organization is raped and becomes part of his harem. It's a fact. I'm part of it. We're all part of it. But he's such an amazing guy. It's okay. So I have this friend, and she came out of a bad relationship. Her husband raped her, and he was a drunk. And I really want to help her. So I've told her to come to my religion. Just follow this teacher. He's amazing. So she follows the teacher, and then she joins, and she gets raped. And she becomes completely traumatized and commits suicide. Eventually, the FBI come in, and we're all now sitting in jail. Well, in this example, I have given advice that caused someone to be hurt. And I knew they would be hurt. I knew the woman would be raped because 100% of women in this group are raped. So for me to bring someone in who has had that death, my ignorance or my position, I caused someone's death. I literally was responsible for her being dead because I knew what would happen, but I did it anyways. That is another type of error where we can be wrong. I clearly believe that this person, this woman in this hypothetical example, is wrong to do this. She should not have done this. Okay. So those are some types of being wrong. And I want to ignore the factual one, the first one. We facts change. Sometimes we know what we're talking about, sometimes we don't, whatever. So I'm just going to ignore that one. I want to look at the other two examples where we make mistakes that may or may not be proven, or we make a mistake that can hurt somebody. I want to just put those aside for a second because that's the basis of what we're talking about here. I'm going to get myself another drink. Hang on. So I want to ask, can we ever be wrong in religion? As I asked at the top of the hour, can we ever be wrong? Are we ever wrong? Am I wrong for bringing this woman in who was raped? This may seem like a very stupid question. Like, why are you asking that? That is such a dumb question. Yeah, duh. Of course we're wrong. The reason, though, I brought this question here is because I don't know where I was. I don't know where I was on the internet poking around, listening to stuff, and I'm like a religious junkie on YouTube. I'll get lost in stuff, and I'll be researching articles, and, yeah, I was someplace where somebody had done something in religion that had caused the death of somebody else. I think it was a guru. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, but I don't wanna say which one because I don't wanna I'm keeping it all hypothetical today. It was a guru who had caused the death of at least a couple people, and he wasn't wrong. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. He wasn't wrong because he is a, uh, messenger of God, therefore, he can't be wrong. If something went wrong, it was the student. When the student went to commit a crime that the guru actually suggested the student commit, and the student ended up getting killed in the process, wasn't the teacher's fault. Wasn't the teacher's fault. Not in the least. He's God. He's perfect. And that just kinda boggled my mind, like, "What the heck?" And I started to realize that people are never wrong in religion. It's always somebody else, or I didn't do it, or I'm just growing, or I'm just learning, or I was naive, but I'm never actually wrong. Think about that. Think about how rarely people in religion are actually wrong. Yes, the question may seem a little on its face weird, like, of course we're wrong, but how often are people actually saying they are wrong? How often does someone like Swami Vivekananda say, uh, "I never thought of that before"? How often does a guru say that? This show I mentioned talking about this Christian, um, in the book, this Christian writer actually said about his ideas, and he actually said Jesus is an avatar. He actually said, "I'm not wrong, but if you disagree, it's because you're not spiritually enlightened enough, but I'm not wrong." And then this show is great. It's like a 3-hour show where they literally went through the book, went through the Bible, and went, "Well, here's this, what he says. Here's the Bible verse that contradicts it. But yet according to him, he's right. The Bible is wrong." And it's like, again, here's the Bible verse that contradicts the guy. So are we to believe the Bible's 100% wrong? Oh, yeah, we are because we're not spiritually enlightened. He's never wrong. Ponder this. Ponder this. Ask yourself, is your teacher who you follow, your guru, are they ever wrong? Have you seen people in your community who did something that was just like, how could you have done that? But yet they weren't wrong. The question is, if we're never wrong, how do we remain in a state of being self aware? If I don't confess I'm wrong, if I'm never wrong, then do I truly know myself? Or am I starting to deny a part of myself? In which case, I'm no longer self aware. And if I stop being self aware, I stop knowing myself. And then can I still be in touch with God? If I don't know myself, how can I know God? That's where this logically goes. I feel like I'm delving into like jhana yoga here where I'm rationalizing everything like, well, that's where it is. That's how I think though. This is for me a normal day and up here. But think about that for a second. If you're never wrong, then do you truly know yourself? Because we're all wrong. We're all going to be wrong about something, something or other. Even the greatest guru is wrong about something. You can't always be perfect. Maybe you may have your facts perfect, but then something else is changed due to archaeology. So now if you continue to spout your fact, well, you're going to be wrong. So we're always going to run into something. Nobody is absolutely perfect. But think about how often anyone in your circle says they're wrong. I can't honestly think of it. I really can't. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We often criticize folks who we see around us who aren't spiritual. We talk about it, you get on forums, you see this chat, "Well, I know these folks who say they're spiritual, but they're really not," or "This guru is really not." And maybe it's because and maybe we're right. Those folks really aren't spiritual, but we don't know why, and maybe I've just hit on the why. It's because they're never wrong. Maybe that is stopping a lot of people from becoming spiritual. I don't know. It's a philosophical idea that I'm putting out to you. As I said at the beginning of the show, the point is to push for you to continuously be asking questions of yourself and the world. So there's a second part to this that I want to discuss. It's a very personal bit where I believe I was wrong. Let me take a drink first. What happens is I get up in the morning, it's 9:22 a.m. here, and I slept a little late because I'm training for a 25K marathon, and I've been really pushing myself. In the past 2 weeks, I've broken my personal times 3 times in my afternoon runs. I've knocked 5 minutes off my runs. Oh, my legs are killing me right now, and I need to start now weaning my mileage down. But I slept late, anyways. My legs just weren't functioning, and um, I've got protein powder in this, and my girlfriend left to work by the time I got up. So when I'm doing this show, this is the first conversation I've had all day. So mind me if I'm taking a drink. My mouth is dry and whatever. So, anyways, I was wrong about something. I want to confess that I was wrong about something, or I was mistaken at least. It didn't do anybody any harm. And I caught I caught the mistake and tweaked it before it does harm, because I don't want to harm anybody. I interpreted a text on this channel early on through ignorance. I didn't do it to be mean. I didn't have any bad intentions. I just interpreted it wrong. And I believe the way I interpreted it could do harm, as in it could stop people from investigating that text. And I don't want that. So when I first started this channel, I was going to read the scriptures. And the very first scripture I read was the Kama Sutra. Because honestly, who doesn't want to know about the sex that's in there? It was on my list of scriptures I wanted to read, but like right on the bottom. It's like the last thing I want to read, but I want to read it, but at the same time, I don't want to read it. But I'm going to do it, and I'm going to get it out of the way sooner than later. And I just left a bad taste in my mouth. I absolutely do not like this at all. And I don't like what it says, and I don't like anything about it. And even now, a year later, I don't really like it. But anyways, I read it, and lots of people click on it because they're looking for sex on YouTube. Let's be honest. And then I started to move into the text I really wanted to read, and I knew I wanted to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And right now, as I do this video, I'm actually recording Canto 5. So I'm working my way through it, and it's just wonderful. But before I got there, I wanted to read a few smaller texts, because the goal has always been to have this channel as a bit of a resource. Lots of different things that you can find here. So I read the Guru Gita, and I read the Shikshapatri. I was wrong about the Shikshapatri. When I was first working on this channel, I was getting online looking for the text, looking for the Srimad Bhagavatam, looking for the Vedas, looking for the Upanishads. And I came across a little book called the Shikshapatri. Quite literally, this is a little book. This is one of 3 versions I have of the Shikshapatri. And I went, okay, that's interesting. Lord Swaminarayan's Shikshapatri English Sanskrit edition. Yeah, okay. It's Indian, looks Sanatana Dharma. All right, let's go for it. And I had no idea what I was reading. I just got on and I read it over 7 videos. Link down below to the playlist. And I've since rewatched those videos, but I can clearly remember when I was filming it, and I can watch it now and I can see what I'm thinking. I read this text. I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about Swaminarayan. I had no idea even anything that other than it was like 200 years old. And I came off with the feeling of, wow, I have maybe jumped into something really heavy with this channel. I might be in over my head because this is very profound and there's a lot of stuff here I'm not necessarily familiar with. Oh shit. I was literally like, oh boy, what have I done? At the same time, I was humbled. Wow, this is intense. I have so much to learn. I'm so glad I'm doing this channel because I never would have learned any of this had I not been doing this channel. I wouldn't have found this book if I didn't do this channel. So, wow, I am so happy that God has pushed me to do this. And I'm getting to share a scripture with other people. And I don't know if this scripture is famous or not, but I have found something. And I felt literally humbled, like, wow, my world is opening up a little more. At the same time, I went, yeah, I'm not too sure about this. This text is, what the am I reading? This is whacked. Have I just read something uh that's like cult material? That's garbage? I literally had this weird response to this book. At one point I thought it was amazing, and the other point I was like, what the heck? And if you go back and watch the videos, you'll find that I don't really say too much about the book. I kind of just let it go because I honestly, when doing the videos, had no idea what to say. I felt I was holding something great, mysterious, and also odd. And originally on this channel, I wasn't going to comment on the text like I do now. But what happened was, as I was reading the Kama Sutra, there was just such things coming up at me. I was like, ugh, I got to comment upon this, or I got to do some small print so you people out there don't think I'm endorsing this book or something. It was just too much. I had to speak. And so then I decided that would be a good thing to do. And also it means that this is more than just books on tape, because that's not what this is about. I want you to think and ponder and pontificate and whatever else. So by the time I was doing the Shikshapatri, it was very normal for me to feed some comments out after the reading. But I don't have any. And like I said, you go back and look, I didn't have any. I had no idea what I'd walked into with this book. I'm just looking through it right now. So for example, I would read a line like verse 21, one shall never slander gods, places of pilgrimage, Brahmins, chaste women, saints, and the Vedas, nor listen to such talks. And I would read that going, okay, well, on the front of it, that looks good, but God, I don't know about that. Like chaste women? Well, what's a chaste woman? I don't even know what that is anymore. And it's like, but what if a Brahmin has molested somebody? Or what if is this person really a saint who rapes, like the example I gave? It just was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm reading. And it's all out there, and I would edit the video down, but it was out there, and I said this. I was very open and honest because that's the gist of this channel. Some months went by, and I had someone reach out to me, wonderful man named no, I won't give his name. He knows who he is. He's become a friend. And I don't want to embarrass him, but an amazing guy reached out to me from the world and the lineage of Swaminarayan and said, "Hey, what you're saying on your channel and in your live streams sounds a lot like Lord Swaminarayan. Here's a quote from the book The Vachanamrut. Here's a quote from the book The Shikshapatri. And it's really in line with what you were talking about." And I went, "Oh, that's interesting. Okay, okay." And this guy kept commenting like that. And it wasn't like crazy things. He wasn't like, "Well, here's what you're saying, and here's what this," and it's kind of sort of the no. It was really like I had found myself somewhere that was really much in line with the teachings of Swaminarayan. And I went, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm gonna investigate this a little more because it's happening enough and this guy's talking, he's really cool and I like what he's saying. I'm gonna investigate this a little more." And I started reading about Swaminarayan, how he comes from the tradition of Ramanujacharya. And interestingly, last summer, right after I had done my recordings of this, I had been interested in reading about Ramanujacharya. I'd found that I no longer was really into Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I had defaulted to that because I was kind of into ISKCON, but something wasn't right. And the teacher I'd been following, Shri Dharma Acharya, comes from Ramanujacharya. So I was kind of going that way. And when I saw this, it was like, oh, whew, this is totally in line with where I'm falling. So I kind of was engaged in this theology of Swami Narayan via this wonderful devotee and this wonderful disciple of Bhagavan. And I went back and I listened to my 7 videos where I read the Shikshapatri. And I realized I was wrong. I had said in those videos that I don't understand this text. This is a weird text. This is strange. I actually said at one point in one of the videos, the Shikshapatri is impossible to follow. Having read more of Swaminarayan and having this person open this world up to me of philosophy, and having started reading more and more, I realized I was wrong. The Shikshapatri is not impossible to follow. It's not strange. It's not weird. I was seeing it wrong. I was misunderstanding it. I was also, and this is the thing, not looking at the big picture. Yes, this said in the quote I read earlier, don't insult a saint. Well, there may be saints in the world like Thomas Aquinas, Saint John of the Cross, great holy men. I would say Ramakrishna Paramahansa is a saint. Swami Vivekananda is a saint for me. But there may be holy men in this world who say they're saints, but they're actually not. They have been called saints and it's wrong. They should not be. I'm pretty sure Swaminarayan would say there are exceptions to the rule. Look at the big picture. The big picture is not call everybody a saint and stop thinking. He did not discourage thinking. Quite the opposite. He wants you to think. He would, if you read the Vakshanamrut, he asks his disciples to talk amongst themselves and ask each other questions. So he would say, if you run into that brick wall where suddenly this is a saint who is not saintly, and he tells there's somewhere, and I plan to do a video about this. He gives like 33 attributes of what is a saint or what is a great teacher. So if you run into somebody who doesn't have those 33 attributes, he would be like, no, no, no. This person's technically not a saint. Therefore, you're not obligated. You need to think. And I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't see that. Instead, I went, oh, this is strange and it's impossible to follow. And I was embarrassed when I went back and watched these videos. I was literally embarrassed because I was kind of telling people that this was just iffy and not to follow it. And I actually went and edited the video down to remove those parts. Because yes, maybe there's a bit of dishonesty there because I'm taking out my firsthand opinion, but I do this all the time in the videos because if I didn't, some of these videos would go on and on and on. Because I often have a lot of reactions, and then as I'm recording, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't wanna I don't know where I'm going with this, and I might be wrong, and I take it down. But I decided that once I learned more about Swaminarayan, not just is he the teacher he says he is, not just is this, a guy who he is the 33 things of what makes a saint. He is it. Not just is he a messenger, a voice of God, but I didn't want to be spreading the view around that it was impossible and that he was wrong. So I edited those videos because I was wrong. I was wrong in my opinion, and I've probably been wrong in other videos. I know for a fact I have, because I'm reading a lot of stuff here, particularly the Upanishads, which gets very difficult to understand, and the English is sometimes hard to get, and sometimes the ideas I just are not familiar enough with. And yeah, that is what it is. That's the risk I take on this channel. But I was wrong. And I'm willing to admit that I formed the wrong opinion. And I am so glad somebody out there didn't go, this guy is horrible, screw him, or declare that I'm somebody horrible, or I'm a Nazi, or I'm a whatever name and someone wants to use and just write me off. No, instead the guy found other things that was good and helped me to realize where I had gone wrong. And I actually don't even think this friend of mine intended that. I don't think he expected me to go back and edit or even go back and look at what I did over a year ago. I wanted to do that though, because I came to a point where I was wrong, and I'm willing to confess I was wrong. I didn't hurt anybody, but I still made a mistake out of ignorance, and I want to fix that mistake. And so this ties back though, or let's tie this back to the beginning of the show. I walked away from this encounter with this person realizing I was wrong. My spirituality changed. You know what I open every show with? Shri Swaminarayan. I read the Vakshanamrut every day. You can actually see behind me, behind my base, there's a bookshelf here, and there's not much on it. What you see is that's this pink thing is one of those salt lamps that I never use, but it's a good keeps things standing. And then there's a bunch of books here. Those are my Swaminarayan texts. Not all of them, just the ones I've read. I have a lot more that I haven't read. And I have given those a special space because that's very special to me, because discovering that, being willing to say I was wrong about something. I remember when my friend, when I'm researching and he's talking to me and we're talking, I went back and reread the Shikshapatri like 5 times. In 1 week, I think I read it like 3 times. And realizing I was wrong and being able to confess I was wrong opened my spirituality up. I have a whole new world of theology here that I didn't have. And this is the cool thing. I felt everything sort of settle with myself spiritually. Like where I was going, where I was aiming for, this Ramanujacharya direction that I felt like, yeah, that's where I was supposed to be. I felt like I got there. Kind of sort of. We're always moving and growing. But by my willingness to say I'm wrong, something happened. And I found myself in this place that I was going. And everything just kind of exploded. I also found that this live show, I was able, in planning it and what I'm going to do next, it just sort of blossomed. And it sort of has now gone in a slightly different direction than I intended. Hopefully, it's a good direction. Listen to me talk for 45 minutes. I hope that's a good direction. uh, but I feel like now, even if I'm talking for 45 minutes, hopefully there's value here. But when I got started, I didn't always know. I didn't always walk away feeling like I have spread some message from my heart. And now I'm giving you a message from my heart. So I said I was wrong, and it opened my world up and it changed things. That's my lesson for the day. And I wonder if more people said, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong about spirituality. Yes, you can be wrong. No, it's not just that you're not enlightened, or no, I'm always right, or I'm God. No, if we dumped that vocabulary and a guru once in a while said, hey, yeah, I don't know, or no, I got that wrong, or I made a mistake, I just wonder how that would absolutely change. How that would absolutely change our spiritual world. and our teachers if they more often said, you know what, 2 people died, and I am responsible. I made a mistake. Maybe a lot more would be in jail. But I also wonder what it would do for us, and if we would have more enlightened people in this world. And I'm not saying I'm enlightened because I'm confessing the misreading of a text. But I'm just saying if we did this more and more, and this became part of our vocabulary as I am wrong, and that became as important as anything else we said, I just wonder. If nothing else, we get to know ourselves, and that will get us facing the right direction to find God. I totally believe that. That focuses us where we need to go. So we get out of this rebirth and rebirth and rebirth, and we get on the path that we want to be a part of Sri Krishna. Anyways, I leave the door open to you. Feel free to pontificate back to me and whatever. And I will catch you in another episode because this is a good place to end. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully, you've found some value here. And yeah, those are my thoughts for the Saturday afternoon. And with that, I got to go fix my hair. I took a shower before my show. That's why I wear my hat, just so you know. And I got to eat breakfast. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next show. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Swaminarayan, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.